provided by Huawei. So the Huawei virtualization platform. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me just make sure that everything is being recorded. I hope you guys can hear me. All right, so when we talk about Huawei virtualization platform, so basically in this chapter will actually introduce the Huawei FusionCompute. So the Huawei FusionCompute virtualization platform, which is the virtualization platform that is provided by Huawei, right? So we're going to talk about different concepts of virtualization, the core architecture of FusionCompute, and its role within the Huawei cloud ecosystem, right? So we will also talk about different features of FusionCompute virtualization product and the best practice for planning and deployment of systems. So right. So so when we talk about virtualization, we really went deep into that last week. So we can see how FusionCompute platform, which is provided by Huawei, will really help you with having an efficient resource utilization, because it's because of its flexible scalability. So you can have it for bigger system or so all right. So when we talk about the Huawei Fusion, can you please confirm if you can see my screen before continue? Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys hear me? And can you see my screen? So it's quiet now. Sorry? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, 10 kilometers.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, we can hear you and you can see your screen.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right. So now when we talk about the FusionCompute virtualization, you must understand this is just a virtualization platform provided by Huawei, just to improve our system can go about virtualization. All right. So what was virtualization? Virtualization was converting our system, our storages and everything that can be done on a physical device, but we're putting it onto a cloud. So basically, you can use one server, which is used by many systems, many virtual machines. So it's like you have one computer divided into multiple computers. But yeah, we've seen that. So if you've missed a few classes, you need to go back to the recordings and watch the other videos to understand what is virtualization. All right. So the Huawei FusionCompute is just kind of an industry-leading virtualization solution, which is designed to just enhance the performance, the efficiency, and just to manage the modern data centers, right? So when we we have the following benefit for customers, right? So you have an improved infrastructure resource utilization in data centers, right? Which means that we will have some kind of enhanced resource utilization. So we can maximize the usage of things like CPUs, memory, storage resources across data centers to just reduce hardware waste, right? Instead of you purchasing so many servers, you can just have a few servers and have virtual machines there using that. Okay, so it's also help accelerates service rollout. What does that mean? It means that we have kind of an accelerated service deployment, right? So we can quickly provide computing resources, right, to new applications and services, right? And then we have a reduced power consumption in data centers. Obviously, you have your reduced energy consumption. So all the workload that could be done by many physical servers can be minimized, because now we are not using a lot of physical servers. We are just using a few servers, and the rest is virtualized. Okay, and then we have a high availability and fast recovery. So we have some mechanisms to help reduce all the downtime, the low operation cost, and just improve all the services. All right. So sorry. Okay, so the FusionCompute virtualization virtualize hardware resources using the virtualization software deployed and physical servers. So you understand that here we have a physical server. We can have one or multiple physical servers, and then we can use the software to create multiple virtual servers. So from maybe 2 physical servers that we have in this organization, then we can use the software to kind of create multiple servers, right? So that's how this virtualization can happen, by creating multiple virtual machine on a single physical host, right? So this can help organizations to just run diverse workloads independently and securely with the same infrastructure. So you have the same infrastructure that you have here, but you can create multiple virtual machines there, right? So this is really really flexible. So it's really easy to create such a system by using this type of software. So you have the Fusion Compute virtualization software that can help you solve this. So we have FusionCompute product positioning and architecture. So in this case, we will have, this is just an addition of what we have in a commercial, right? So the FusionCompute is just a Huawei core virtualization solution, right? Which serve as a foundation for multiple clouds and virtualization services. So you have all your cloud services that you can get from Huawei and that. So now, when we have FusionCompute, it's just a software, right? It's just a cloud operating system. So this cloud operating system will just virtualize all the hardware resources and manage virtual resources, right? So it's going to provide a high system security and reliability. So that is very important, because when we're working in this environment, when you're dealing with data, when you're dealing with important information, you will need to have a system that is really secure, all right? So we basically have the system here, which in addition to the commercial Fusion compute virtualization platform, Huawei virtualization technologies are also support other technologies, such as you have the FusionCube, you have the FusionAccess, and the DME. So basically, the FusionCube will be the hyperconverged infrastructure. So this will integrate all the computing, the storage, the networking, right? So it's basically going to integrate all this in just a unified platform, right? Just to simplify the management of your data. So that will be the FusionCube. And then you have the FusionAccess. So the FusionAccess is like a desktop cloud solution, right? So this will just provide a secure virtual desktop infrastructure, right? So we can also call it VDI services. So we have a virtual desktop infrastructure, which is VDI. All right. So these are certain integration that we have for the Huawei Cloud solution. So we have the FusionCube, right? We have the FusionCube, and then we have the FusionAccess. All right. So we will also have some what we call containers management capabilities, right? So that's just mean that we will deal with things like container images and application management. We have monitoring and operation maintenance. So these will come to when we're talking about certain scenarios that can be done using this the Fusion Cloud. All right. So there's many infrastructures that can actually work in different scenarios. There you've seen it being used in things like power supply systems, in like firefighting systems, wiring system, cooling system. So you have this software being used in different industries. All right. Because of its ability to create all these virtual machines. So it makes everything easier and everything cheaper, because you don't need to buy all the hardwares for everything. All right. So we have a Fusion Compute architecture. So when we talk about the Fusion Compute architecture, so this will consist of different modules, right? So we will have like the CNA, we will have the VRM. All right, so the CNA will basically be deployed on the server. So the CNA is the compute node agent, which is deployed on the server that need to be virtualized. And then we have the VRM, which is the virtual resource management, which is deployed on virtual machines or on the physical servers, right? So VRM will provide web pages for management and maintenance personnel. All right. So, so in this architecture, as we said, this architecture of FusionCompute will be composed of some functional modules, which we've mentioned here, and this module will actually work together to deliver just that complete virtualization platform, right? So the compute node agent, right, CNA, will actually, as we said, it's going to be deployed on the physical server that need to be virtualized, right? So the CNA is responsible for things like running and managing virtual machines, allocating CPU, memory, or storage resources, communicating as well with the VRM to just execute some management instructions, right? So when you think of the CNA, so you understand that the CNA will serve as a virtualized computing infrastructure of the data center. All right, so understands the CNA responsibilities, which are just to run and manage virtual machines. All right, and then you have your VRM, which is deployed on virtual machines or physical server. So VRM will stand for Virtual Resource Management. So the VRM will be responsible for like things like centralized management, scheduling of virtual resources, providing, as we said here, providing web-based interfaces for administrators, for example. So for the person who needs to look at these virtual machines and set them, just providing kind of web pages where the management that will be used for managing the system. So for the administrators of the system, they will need to maybe log into a certain a page where they can change anything, you understand? So that is provided by the VRM. Okay. So VRM will actually act as the brain or the control center of the virtualization platform. All right. So in terms of this component here, so the main functions and features of FusionCompute. So we'll have the computing virtualization, all right, which will include cluster and also resource management, VM resource management, and all this management. And then we have the storage virtualization, which is more focused on storage resources management. And then we have the network virtualization, which is focused on the network resource management and everything that has to do with the network, including the type of IP that we have. We can have the IPv4 or IPv6. And then we have the O&M management, which deal with the permission management to see, okay, this is a user. The user can only have access to certain things, or this is an administrator that can install or uninstall things. You understand? So, all right. So we have that. So now when we talk about the FusionCompute system reliability, so we're going to so the FusionCompute will just provide some sort of mechanism to just ensure the stability of the virtualization service, right? So when we talk about reliability of the system, we'll include things such as what we call the management nodes in active or standby mode. We have the host OS fault locating. We have the management data backup and recovery. So the system reliability. All right. So this system reliability will actually be based on that. So when we talk about the management node in active or standby mode, that means that this is when the FusionCompute management node will operate on the active or standby architecture. So in case of failure, such as an hardware fault, or when we have a certain process that was happening and then there was like a suspension of the process, we have operating system problems, network connectivity issues. So the standby nodes automatically takes over from the active node within like 1 or 2 minutes, right? This is just to ensure that there's no interruption access to the virtualization management services. So this is one of the reason why the system will be reliable, because it includes this feature. So this feature will help when the problem with hardware, a fault or network or anything. So you will have the management node that will come in. All right. So, and then we also have the management data backup. So the management data backup or recovery as well. So this is just to understand that the FusionCompute will periodically back up. So at a certain time, maybe it's something that you can say, it's maybe after a few weeks or a few days, it's going to back up. So it's going to back up all the configuration data, all the service management data, right? So it's going to back up all this data to either to the local memory or kind of a remote location. Okay, so in this case now, when we talk about recovery now after this backup, So the recovery capabilities as well of this system is that if the active node fails, it will automatically restore using local backup. So if both active and standby fail, you can do a manual recovery using remote backup. Okay, so this is a very good design that will help this system. All right, so this is with the system reliability. So the system reliability, we have these features of management data restoration, so we can restore the data. We have black box, the black box mechanism, so which means that each FusionCompute host will include a black box, right? So this component will actually, so the black box will actually capture critical logs. So critical logs means that if there is anything in the process, anything that is going wrong with the system, so it's going to register, to record those information, right? And it's going to diagnose the information from the virtualization operating system kernel. Okay, so the black box mechanism will also enable accurate fault analysis and just accelerate the recovery during kernel failures, right? So these features will be really important. So now this is with the system itself, but we also have the reliability based on the software, right? So when we talk about reliability, when we talk about FusionCompute software reliability, so what we mean by that is that so we have multiple mechanisms, right, just to ensure that the virtual machines are stable and they are protected throughout the whole life cycle, right? So the software will have certain key features, right, which will help make the software reliable, right? Such as we have the VM high availability, which is the virtual machine high availability. So the VMHA, which means virtual machine high availability. So this feature here will automatically detect virtual machine failures. Okay, so if a fault occurs, right, the system will restart the virtual machine on an healthy compute node within that cluster. So based on the virtual machine there, if there's any faults there, the system will just restart the virtual machine based on another compute node within that cluster that can be healthier than the system, right? So this will help minimize all the downtime and ensure that there's a quick service recovery. All right, so this is one of the features. And then you have the VM live migration. So the VM live migration, so this feature will allow virtual machine to just move from one physical server to another. Okay, so it will allow the virtual machine to move from one physical server to another physical server without any service interruption. So that will depend on how you want to deal with your data. You know, sometimes you have a certain server, but then you need to move the data to another server for some reason. So this can happen in so this happens sometimes. Think of it in the case where, let's say you are using a certain hosting company that were keeping your information about your website, and now you want to move to a different hosting company. There is a migration that needs to be done there. So your data has to move one company to go to another company without any interruption. People can still visit your website. They can still see your information without any interruption. You move from one server to another server. So that is the VM live migration. Okay. So when we talk about live migration, so we talking about virtual machines to move from one physical server to another physical server without any service interruption. Okay, so in a VM live migration, we also gonna have things like memory data or virtual machine states that are recovered in real time to just maintain the service consistency. Okay, so the next feature, the next feature will be the VM OS fault detection. So in the VM faults detection, so this feature will just monitor all the virtual machine runtime statuses. So if a virtual machine becomes faulty due to maybe the operating system issues or some host failures, the system will automatically restart on the same host, right? Or just migrate or restart it to another healthy host, depending on the policy, depending on how the system was configured. So that is the virtual machine OS fault detection. So this is the feature, one of the features that does that. Okay, and then we have the VM isolation. So this is just to ensure the security and some resource independence between a virtual machine on the same host. So we can be on the same host, but we have different virtual machine. We make sure that there's a security boundary between these independent virtual machines, right? So this is just to help you that if there's any issue with one virtual machines, maybe a virus has attacked that system or something is faulty, it does not affect the other virtual machines. All right. And then we have snapshots. So when we talk about snapshots, it's just to create the restore point of the virtual machine. So this is when you're doing some backup of the data of that virtual machine. So we have kind of a restore point. So in case we want to restore the data, we have a certain date or a certain point. So so the snapshot will create a restore point of the virtual machine, including all this data and state of a specific moment, right? So this will help in case of errors or misconfiguration or any data correction. Okay, so these are some of the features. So, and then the last one will be the VM load balancing. So this is just to monitor all the workloads of all the compute node, right? So this feature will actually redistribute all the virtual machines to achieve just a kind of a balanced cluster resource usage. So this is how it's going to balance how the load is being distributed across this virtual machines, just to avoid a bottleneck and just maintain kind of a good service level. All right. So we can also have a reliability base, which is based on the architecture itself. We understand that FusionCompute have a very strong architecture that really ensure a high reliability. There's a service continuity. So basically, if we are using any services, we are transferring data, or we are using data from some servers, whenever we change something, we don't have to stop those services, but there is a service continuity. And we also have a data integrity because of the security level that we have across all the virtualization platform, right? So the certain key architecture level reliability can include just a few features, right? There's a few features that can make the whole architecture of FusionCompute be reliable. We have like the management nodes HA, right? So this is the management node's high availability. So basically, this is just to make sure that the management nodes operate in active or standby modes. So if the active management nodes encounter like a fault, so we will have the standby nodes, which will automatically take over, right? So the standby node will just take over all the service management, and then management operation can continue without interruptions. So this is just to ensure that there's a continuous availability of the platform control functions and all those, right? So that is the management node HA. And then we have another feature, which is the traffic control. So basically the traffic control mechanism will just implement some of a kind of an intelligent traffic system on the management access point. So this will help to prevent all overloads on the machine during like high concurrent access scenarios where there is many virtual machine requesting certain data from a certain source from the server and that. So we can have the traffic control mechanism just to help enhance that stability and ensure that there is no interruption in the management services, right? So those are certain features of the architecture itself, right? We also have a data consistency check. So basically, we have certain periodic data consistency verification, which will just, we just verify this data, which will just help us ensure that there is an integrity of the configuration data, the accuracy of information. You understand? So this will just help avoid or prevent any issues or any anomalies caused by mismatch or corrupted data, right? So when you have corrupted data, they can actually corrupt the whole system, and the system is not functioning well, or we have some anomalies in the system because of this corrupted data. And to avoid that, this architecture have a module that will help check the consistency of data. All right. And then we have a fault detection. So the fault detection, which as a system of kind of an alarm reporting. So the fault detection will just make sure that it monitors the system components and services in real time. So all the faults will actually be detected, and you can easily see, okay, there's a problem, and then there's a reporting there, right? So the web-based virtualization tool will just assist the administrator in quick to diagnose the issue, which was detected by the fault detection. So the administrator of the system can actually have some time to diagnose whatever has been reported by the system. All right, and then we have the manage data restoration. So when we talk about management of data, so we're talking about management data backup or restoration. So this just means that all the configuration and service data will be backed up. So we're going to back this data on a certain period, right? With either, as we said, to the local storage or some remote recovery location somewhere. All right. So now, obviously, if you have it on a remote location, it may take longer to recover than if you have it on local. But at least both of them will really help you in terms of in case you want to back up your data. Okay, and then we have the managed data backup, which is actually what we just spoke about now. So we have the backup, can back up the data, or we can manage the restoration. All right, so we have a few product function, right, for virtual computers. So you need to understand that FusionCompute will just enable the physical server resources to be converted to virtual resources. Okay, so this is exactly what we spoke about when we define what is virtualization. All right, so that's the whole purpose of FusionCompute product functions, is to do exactly what we've learned about virtualization. So basically, your FusionCompute system will just convert all the physical servers resources into flexible or scalable logical computing resources, right? So this is going to be done through virtualization technologies. So basically, a single physical server can be divided into multiple virtual machines, which will just allow kind of a diverse workloads just to operate independently on the same hardware. So we have one hardware, but different software, different ways of using them, so that if there's any problem, it doesn't affect the whole system. So, which means that we're going to have the whole system here. So we have one hardware that can be used by multiple systems. So which means that we are sharing things like the CPU, the memory, the storage. You understand? So we have kind of resource virtualization. So we can, yeah. So we have also other capability that we're going to have is an improved resource utilization, because we're going to have multiple workloads on a fewer servers, right? Which will reduce all the hardware costs and boost all the operations that we may need to have. All right, so those are advantages of that, right? So in terms of storages, virtualized storages, yeah, so we have actually taken all the storages that we have actually virtualized them. So the same memory is being used by multiple virtual machines, okay, which will actually provide kind of a virtual networking framework, right? So in this storage network that we're going to have here, so when we will have like all the physical network resources that we can use just to provide a secure communication between all the virtual machines and the physical servers. All right. So in this case, we're gonna have certain switches, right? Certain switches that will help us to just create that virtual network. All right. So this is how virtualization can be such a big advantage, by also using all these this software to just help create all the virtual network here. So we're going to provide this whole framework using FusionCompute, and this framework will just help you to just take all the physical network resources and create a secure communication between the virtual machines. So we will have a DVS, which means this is a distributed virtual switch, right? So the DVS will just be one of the core components of FusionCompute in terms of virtual networking, right? And because it's going to provide all the virtual switching layers, right? So the virtual switching layers, which means that these layers will just connect to all the virtual machine across all the across the cluster itself, right? So one of a few benefits of using this system is just the network management. So one DVS, right, can span through multiple hosts, right? Can span through multiple hosts, which mean it's going to simplify all the configuration. And then you also have your network isolation, which means that you can support all the VLANs, which means that we have, you see it like here, we have port group VLAN 100, VLAN 200. So you have different VMs, virtual machines, like this one is using Windows, and then we have Linux, but they are all in one network because we are using the virtual switch ports there. Okay, so those are some of the advantages in terms of the using this architecture in enterprises. Will just be to simplify all the network deployment and management for large-scale virtualization environments. So no need to buy so many cables, try to create a network there. We can use the system. All right. So yeah. So this will just help us improve network reliabilities and reduce all operation costs. All right. So I think that will be in terms of the security as well. You must understand virtual network access control. So the network range of the VMs can be divided into can be divided by configuring the VLANs IDs and VMs network interface cards. So that's how we can configure them in terms of the security. So if we can create certain network at a certain range, we have configure all the LAN, that's the IDs and the VM network interfaces, right? So that can help for in terms of security. So you need to understand that if there is any security breach for one virtual machine, it shouldn't affect other virtual machines. All right. So that's how we can create this architecture. All right, guys. I think this will be all for today in terms of cloud computing, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the deployment plans. All right. So please don't miss the second session, which will start at 6:45 with HCIP AI.